Coral reefs are spectacularly beautiful and they are centres of biodiversity on our planet. I've always been fascinated by the natural world and particularly the marine environment because it's so different from the terrestrial environment that we usually see. My journey on coral reefs started more than 40 years ago when I started working on the Great Barrier Reef. Corals are fascinating creatures. They're very simple animals, but they are able to build calcium carbonate limestone skeletons, which create the whole reef environment. And therefore, they are foundational in that they provide not only the three-dimensional structure of the reef, but all of the habitats for all the other reef organisms. Magnetic Island, just off Townsville in the central Great Barrier Reef region, is actually a really important site. It's where we discovered the mass coral spawning 40 years ago. During these periods each year, millions of different polyps from many hundreds of thousands of different colonies all start to reproduce on just a few nights each year. These are called mass spawning events because they involve so many different corals from so many different types and groups of corals on the reef. And literally trillions of eggs and sperm are released during these mass spawning events. So the mass spawning is visually spectacular, but it's also ecologically critically important to the health of the Great Barrier Reef. Hundreds of millions of larvae develop, and those larvae drift around between reefs. Through that larval production, we get so many new corals settling onto reefs that kickstarts the recovery and the ongoing maintenance of the reef communities. One of the really interesting things I'm involved with now is applying this understanding of these mass spawning periods to trying to help damaged areas of the reef recover. So what we do is capture part of this immense coral spawn slick that occurs at the sea surface after these mass spawning events, and we grow many millions of larvae in floating larval pools directly on the reef. We wait for about 5 to 7 days until the larvae are desperate to settle, and then we release those larvae back onto damaged sections of the reef to kickstart the recovery of the coral communities on those damaged reef areas. This process is known as coral IVF or coral larval restoration. It's one of the many methods we're trialling to see how we can start to restore damaged areas of the Great Barrier Reef that are not recovering naturally from recent bleaching events. It was totally unexpected to be asked to be involved in it, but absolutely thrilled to be involved. We would hope to see that some coral larvae will naturally settle on these sculptures. And for my sculpture, I would really love it if we got some of the branching acropora corals, which form so many important habitats for fish and other organisms on reef systems, and gradually overgrow me. That would be fantastic because it would be yet another opportunity for corals to start growing and repopulating damaged reef areas.